So I'm in my car one day. Can't remember exactly where I was, but I had to pull over to do something on my phone. In the middle of me performing whatever this was on my phone, it probably was responding to an email. A text message pops up at the upper portion of my phone, a text message banner. It's from my ex-wife. Now, if you have gone through the type of conflict that I have with my ex-wife, whenever a text message, phone call, anything pops up from her, there's a little bit of uh, anger that you feel, maybe a little bit of anxiety, because I know how she operates. I know that she's always scheming, always up to something. And usually her communication is designed to provoke some type of emotional response. This text message pops up. And it took me a second to gather myself before I opened it. Because initially I was going to ignore that shit and not reply to it for, a few hours. But then I thought to myself, I've specifically instructed her not to fucking contact me at all unless it's an emergency regarding my children. For those of you who don't know, I am the single father of two small children. At the time of this text message, my daughter was 8 and my son was 5. Okay. I decided against ignoring it and I opened the text message. And in opening the text message, I read the following. From her, it states, "Hey, I just got a job offer out of state. You and I need to talk." You got a job offer out of state? Uh, I said, okay, well, um, if you decide that you want to accept your job offer, that's fine. The children will not be going out of state with you. She resends the same text again. As I previously stated, I got a job offer out of state. We need to talk. My response this time was, you have my phone number. The same way you just text me twice, it would have taken you less time to push the call button and state this over the phone. You elected to text. Calling me is not going to change my response. But should you decide that you want to call me, feel free to do so. And we can talk about it then, in which you will be met with the same resistance. What do you think happened after that? No response in text message. Phone call never came. Now, because I know her and because I've watched her strategically do certain things like this to her oldest child's father, I knew exactly what was happening. I knew exactly what was coming. This text message wasn't designed to be to initiate any type of real communication between she and I. No. This text message was meant to document an attempt to have communication. It meant that she was planning something, and more than likely, she was planning on filing something in the court, some type of motion. Now, my ex-wife wasn't a very good wife, one. But even worse, she's not the greatest mother. Okay? My children have been placed in harm's way and possibly even life-threatening situations while they were left in her care. This is a topic that I've been prolonging speaking about here on the channel, as a lot of you have been requesting for me to talk more about my marriage. I'm deciding to do so now, but it's not very easy for me to do. Not because I have any type of unfinished business with her, okay? The real reason is because anytime I speak about my ex wife, I know subsequently I'm going to have to speak about my children. My children are my Achilles heel, okay? When I speak about my children, there are uncontrollable emotions that might come to the surface that I don't want to show my viewers or subscribers, despite the fact that the name of this channel is The Real Rayhan. That is a little bit too real for me to want to document here on this YouTube channel. So at times moving forward, if I'm speaking about my ex-wife and you happen to see me all of a sudden wearing a pair of sunglasses in my videos, just know that the reason for that is because I'm trying to hide a certain emotion that I do not want people to see, which you may even be starting to see a little bit now. Anyway, because I know her well enough to know what this text message was intended to do and what she's planning on doing, I'm smart enough and more aware enough to start preparing. I had to sit back and I had to remember all of the shit that she's done, or should I say, failed to do as a mother when it came to our children. Because clearly, this text message is her way of saying that she's about to move out of the state and she's taking my children with her, whether I like it or not. Lawfully, she can't do this, which meant that she had to file a document in the court requesting the court to give her permission to do so. This is when I knew I had to start preparing. You see, over the course of our marriage, there were several issues that arised between involving my children when they were under the direct care of my ex-wife. The first one I can think about is with my daughter, who was my oldest. When my daughter was about 16 months is when I kind of really started noticing stuff wasn't being done. Things that a mother should do were not taking place. One day I came home from work. Now, at this particular job, it was a security job. I had to wake up at about 5:15 in the morning. My routine was usually the alarm goes off 5:15. I'd wake up, use the restroom, brush my teeth. I would go downstairs. I would open the front door. I would let our dog out to go use the bathroom. I wouldn't even walk him. I don't even have time. Nobody else is up at this time of morning. I would just open the door and let him fucking run free because he knows the routine. Go use the bathroom. And when you're done, after that 10 or 15 minutes that you're outside, when I open this door, you need to be on this porch and I'll have your food ready for you. I would feed him, and then I would have to put him in a kennel before I left out because nobody else in the house was able to get control of him. All right. So at this particular job, I was working from 6 a.m. to 6, sometimes as late as 6 p.m., which would mean I wouldn't get home till almost 7 p.m. Okay. On this particular day, I got off early, which would have been at 2 o'clock, which is very rare that I would get off after 8 hours. And thankfully I did. When I got home, I pulled up in front of my house and I saw my wife getting out of the car, which means she had just pulled up. She was getting out of the car and she was getting our daughter out of the back seat. I pulled up and I parked my car. I had two private parking spots in front of my house. So I parked my car, and as I get out, I'm coming around to her car to see what she needs help with going into the house. As I'm walking, she's walking with my daughter. My daughter had only just started walking maybe a month before this moment. And my daughter, she was holding my daughter's hands, one of my daughter's hands, and they were walking along the sidewalk towards the house. And my daughter kind of started tugging, like trying to pull away from, my ex-wife, and started like like kind of bending her knees up and down, like she really wanted to be let go. I saw this as a sign of her wanting to be independent and show us that she can walk without being held. But when my daughter stopped shaking, she went limp. When my daughter went limp, my first thought was that she was having some type of temper tantrum. She was only 16 months old. My ex-wife picked her up and carried her into the house. I unlocked the door, and then she goes and she sits on the couch with my daughter. My daughter is still limp, and it quickly went from her playing a game to something can potentially be wrong. My first instinct was to go into the kitchen to get one of her bottles, fill it up with some juice, and to give it to her to see how she reacted. And when I handed the bottle to my ex-wife, my daughter didn't take the bottle. She just laid there, limp, conscious, staring up into the ceiling, motionless. My ex-wife tried to pinch her to get her to respond. I kind of tapped her on the side of her face to get her to move, to get her to do something, and she didn't. She laid there, still limp. I told my ex-wife, get up, get in the back seat of my car. We're on the way to the hospital. Put them in the back seat of my Dodge Charger, SRT8. I'm about to rip the fucking road up because my daughter is doing something that is highly unusual, and I don't know why. We get in the car, and I race to the nearest hospital. Nearest hospital was about maybe 18 minutes away. I probably got there in 11 minutes. Pulled right up to the front of the hospital where the ambulances let people off. I didn't give a shit. We get out of the car, we run into the emergency room. We get to the front of the line, and we go talk to the receptionist or the intake nurse or whatever she's called. And the nurse is asking for our information, our name, our health cards, and all of that shit. I'm like, man, listen, we don't have time for that. My daughter is unresponsive and she's not moving. And they kind of look at, she kind of turns and she looks at the other nurse that's sitting next to her, and they hit some button and call some code. I can't recall what it was because everything was happening so fucking fast. Anyway, they take us into the emergency room. We bypassed everybody else that was sitting there in the emergency room, and we go right to the back. They take my daughter into a room where she's supposed to get triaged, where they're supposed to take blood pressure, urine, and all of that kind of stuff. She was unresponsive, so she wasn't going to be able to provide any of that stuff. They take her into that room. They tell us that give us a minute because we need to figure out what's going on, and we don't need it crowded in here because we don't have a lot of people in here. And my heart is steadily dropping. What the fuck is going on with my daughter? My firstborn child, at that point, my only child. They pull the curtains back with our daughter in there. We're standing outside the room, right? I'm seeing doctors and nurses run into the room. I don't understand all the commotion that's going on, but I'm sitting there seeing all of this happen almost in slow motion. They need to get blood, which they were able to do because she was limp. She wasn't, little children that age normally cry when they receive a needle. Not this time. She wasn't responding to pain. She wasn't responding to touch. She wasn't responding to anything. Not the sound of voice, light, nothing. They were checking her pupils. They were doing all of these things. They drew blood. They checked her blood pressure. They needed a urine sample from her. But before they get the urine sample from her, one of the doctors gave her some type of shot of, only thing I can think of is it was sugar, okay, or whatever the equivalent of that is in a hospital. When they gave my daughter this shot, like I said, I didn't know what the hell it was. We didn't know this was even taking place until they brought in the catheter because they needed to get urine. My daughter's 16 months. You don't want to give my daughter a catheter at 16 months old. The only thing I was comforted by that was the fact that she was not feeling anything, and I knew a catheter would be kind of painful. So they need this urine sample, and they started giving my daughter this catheter, and it felt like forever was passing by. And then I remember hearing the sound of ouch, and then my heart started to rise. So then I go to the room and I draw the curtain back just to look in to see why the hell did my daughter just say ouch. And she's standing there on the bed with her arms out, and she turns and looks at me like, Daddy, what the fuck are these niggas doing? This is kind of the look that she gave me, right? And I'm happy to see that she's now standing on her own independently. She's responding, she's back to herself. And I'm like, oh shit, everything's working out. So the doctor said, yes, sir, give us 1 second, because they had already started to extract urine. Doctor comes walking out, standing next to my wife. And my doctor's like, yeah, so we were able to stabilize her. Um, Looks like her blood sugar levels dropped dangerously low. We gave her a shot of sugar or whatever it's called. We gave her a shot of that, and yeah, it returned her sugar levels back to normal. But her blood sugar levels were dangerously low. When is the last time she ate? And I'm looking at my ex-wife, waiting for the answer. And my ex-wife says, "Oh yeah, she eats like a bird." And I'm like, "Bitch, he didn't ask you to describe a fucking animal that she eats like. He asked you when was the fuck the last time she ate," knowing that the answer to this question should be she had XYZ for lunch, or at the minimum she had XYZ for breakfast. Describing an animal that she eats like is clearly a way that you're trying to avoid giving a straight answer to a question that you don't want to answer, because it's going to hurt my perception of you as a mother. I can't tell you how angry and disappointed I was in this woman, knowing that all of this shit was taking place due to her negligence. Negligence to do something that parents, mothers and fathers, have been doing since forever. In order for your blood sugar levels to drop that low to the point where your body goes into this limp state of shock, you have to have not consumed any calories for probably, I would assume, like 3 days, 3 days, or maybe even more, that she had not fed my daughter anything. And it's not because we didn't have food. No, in preparation for my daughter's arrival, we stocked up on fucking baby food, Pampers, wipes, clothes, all different sizes. Like, all that shit was in the fucking house. My ex-wife was at the time unemployed. So the only thing she had to do while I was at work was care for our child, so that I don't have to pay an additional bill for daycare. I was taking care of everything else. I'm pissed, pissed. And my perception of her is now starting to change. I remember the nurse, the intake nurse, the one who I said, listen, we don't have time for that. My daughter's not responsive. We need to see somebody immediately. She came to us and she was like, everything's okay now? That's good. I've seen this before. And if you guys would have waited like maybe 15 more minutes, she wouldn't have made it. Most parents don't even bring their children when they see stuff like that. They just lay them in the bed and try to let them go to sleep, not realizing that there's an emergency going on. But it's good on whoever it was that recognized something was happening and brought her in, because she wouldn't have made it if you would have waited any longer. You can't imagine what I have to be feeling at the moment that somebody tells me that I almost lost my firstborn child, my only child at this time. What I'm feeling now, even thinking about this shit. Anyway, that was one instance. I can remember another instance where we're in the house, we're in the master bedroom, our bedroom, and we're on the bed. My daughter is on the bed with us, and the TV is on Netflix on a show that my daughter likes to watch at the time called Sarah and Duck. It's a stupid ass Netflix cartoon where Sarah does a little bit of talking, the duck quacks, and there's a narrator, a male voice that narrates the show. But my daughter was sitting there, she was propped up and she was looking, and something happened on this fucking show that she found amusing, and she started cheesing and laughing, right? Now I'm staring at my daughter, just admiring how gorgeous she is, right? Like, I created this, you know what I mean? And when she starts cheesing, I can see her teeth. And as I'm looking at her teeth, I notice that where one tooth should be, it isn't. It looks like it had broken off, or something to that effect. So I immediately stick my finger up, like such, into my daughter's mouth, move her lip, lift her lip up, because I want to see If what I'm saying is accurate, and sure as shit it is, there's an entire tooth that is missing, and not missing because it fell out, is missing because it looks like it was broken. The fuck does her mouth look like this for? I'm asking myself. So I immediately go to my ex-wife. Hey, come look at this. What happened to her mouth? Did she fall and hit her mouth on something? Like there's a tooth that looks like it's broken off. And she comes and looks like she's all concerning and she's trying to look in there and all of this mess. And I'm like, yo, was it like this on the other side? It's the canine teeth. This particular one right here, gone. I look on the other side, and that one's gone too. She's missing two teeth that are intended to do the exact same thing on opposite sides of her mouth. They are both broken down to the gum. And I'm like, yo, where the fuck are her teeth at? If she didn't fall and hit her mouth on anything and knock these teeth out or break them, like why doesn't she have these teeth? She's too young to be losing teeth. I looked at my ex-wife because the answer was already starting to come into my head. I looked at her, I said, have you been brushing her teeth? This bitch gonna say, I don't have the patience to brush her teeth. The fuck you mean you don't have the patience to brush her teeth? She can't brush her damn teeth herself. She's 16 months. Well, maybe even younger than that. I can't even remember at the time. She can't do it herself. You in here all fucking day long and you can't fucking feed her when she need to eat and you can't fucking brush her fucking teeth. What the fuck are you doing for 8 to 12 hours while I'm at work? What are you doing? Fucking watching soap operas? Surfing your fucking Facebook and Instagram? Keeping up with your fucking social media? You ain't got shit else to do. At this, she's almost, I don't want to say afraid, but a little bit shocked because she had never heard me take this kind of tone. You know what I mean? Like now I'm becoming more direct and more aggressive because my child's well-being is on the line. I get my daughter up, I take her into the bathroom at that point. I say, come on, baby, I'm gonna show you, daddy gonna show you how to brush your teeth. And I give her a little toothbrush. I put a little bit of toothpaste on it, the baby, the kids type toothpaste that doesn't have, the fluoride stuff, the stuff that's safe to swallow accidentally. And I get my toothbrush ready and I stand there and I brush my teeth and I give my daughter a toothbrush and I let her follow along. She's imitating me. After she's done, I look at her, what the fuck was so hard about that? Nothing. Her teeth probably aren't brushed to perfection, but they're at least somewhat of an understanding of what she needs to do if she's going to do it by herself. If I wanted to brush her teeth, she's not going to give me any problems. Fucking get off your ass and do what the fuck you're supposed to do. Because now my frustrations, they're already mounting. You guys have to remember I did a video here on my channel entitled The Dangers of Being a Stepfather in Today's Society, in which I speak about a very specific incident that occurred with my stepdaughter and my ex-wife, which caused me to look at her differently. And now I'm dealing with this. Two separate instances with my own child. And the only common denominator in both of these situations, or in all three of them, is my ex-wife. We end up having to take my daughter to Children's Hospital. And at Children's Hospital, they did an examination on my daughter's mouth. And it was determined that due to a lack of proper brushing, my daughter had 16 rotten teeth in her mouth. 16. Now, a 15, 16, 17 month old toddler don't got a full stack of 32 teeth in their mouth like an adult. 16 teeth is almost every tooth, majority of them, in a toddler's mouth. 16 rotten, decayed cavities or head cavities. My daughter had to be given laughing gas, I believe it's called. Laughing gas. And they had to give her silver caps on certain teeth. They had to put fillings in the cavities. And they did a thorough cleansing on her teeth. And again, I'm looking like, so first we had the incident where you weren't feeding her for days, giving her fucking flavored water which has absolutely no calories and no nutrients at all. It's actually dangerous because it's flushing out all the electrolytes from your body, which explains why my daughter had the limp reaction that she had. And now this, you haven't been brushing her teeth. She's only fucking 16 months. That means you haven't been brushing her teeth probably ever. Probably fucking ever. All day while you here with her and I'm at work. You ain't doing shit to properly take care of my child. It would almost be better if I spent the extra money for her to go to daycare, because they would probably take better care of a child that isn't even theirs. But I'm pissed. Those are two separate health related incidents that took place with my daughter. Let's get into school. Now, in the state where I lived, the schools, if you're registered, they have a something called I believe it's called Owl Link, if I'm remembering correctly, where it's a parent portal and you can log in and you can check your child's grades, you can check their attendance, you can check their progress reports. You can it's amazing. It's fucking amazing. So after my wife and I had separated, obviously the two incidents that I just spoke about before, we were living in the same house. But after we had separated, we were living in different houses. We had a limited divorce. We may have even had our absolute divorce at this point. I don't know what it was in me that said, let me log into this parent portal and let me check my daughter's attendance for this particular school year. And when I checked my daughter's attendance for the school year that it was, the current school year that I was checking it, my daughter had already been absent from school, absent 43 days. She was absent, unexcused absence. She had been tardy another 38 days. And I'm thinking, why the fuck has she missed so much school? Our link allows you to look at each school year from the first year that they attended school all the way up to the current. So I started going back every school year. And I noticed that from the first year, she had 27 absences and 20 some odd tardies. The second year, she had 30 some odd absences, 30 some odd tardies. The fourth year, she had, this was her third year in school. She had, what did I just say, 43 absences, unexcused absences, and like 30 some odd tardies, close to 40 some odd tardies. And I'm thinking, why the fuck has she been late for school so much? Why has she been absent from school so much? It's because her mother wants to stay out all fucking night. And then when she gets home, she wants to sleep. And when she should be waking up to take the kids to school, she doesn't want to get up. She'll leave them home with her oldest child, who is not old enough to watch my children. Oh my gosh, a 7-year-old girl and a 4-year-old boy. She's not. Why? Now she's only 7 years older than my daughter. She's not old enough to watch my children. She can't cook. She can't drive. She's very irresponsible. We already know this. If you remember the video that I uploaded, the dangers of being a stepfather in today's society, why are you leaving my children with her? Because you still wanna go out and hang out at clubs and cigar lounges and all this other dumb shit that you're doing instead of sitting your ass in the house and being a responsible parent. Get the kids to me. Give them to me. You know what I mean? When I go to work, it's come home. I'll take care of my shit. I only go out and have fun and be social when the kids are not with me. Give them to me. Nah, she don't want to do that. She want to leave them at home with this little girl, because if she gives them to me, guess what it does? It creates an argument when we get to court. How often that she relies on me to have the children with me when they're supposed to be with her. I see all of these absences for my daughter from school, and I'm thinking, in preparation for this upcoming court hearing, which I know is coming because I know how she operates, I got to gather all of these documents. So I go to the hospital where we took my daughter when she got limp, and I requested that they give me a copy of that particular report, everything that they entailed. Then I went to Children's Hospital where we took my daughter, and she had to have all the caps and fillings on her teeth. And I told them to print that out, give me a copy of this. Then I logged into the OWL link, and I didn't even have to talk to anybody. I logged into OWL link and I simply printed out the number of absences for each school year, because I already know she's not going to play fair when she gets into the courtroom. I've watched her before when she went in the courtroom against her oldest child's father. She will lie under oath. She doesn't care. She will say, she will lie about your behavior, your reputation. She will make up things that never even took place to try to throw you off from what it is that you're there to do, so that it increases her chance to have success. She's a total fucking bitch. I got all of these documents prepared, right? I also log into another platform that we have where we can communicate back and forth with their teachers. It's called Class Dojo, is what this particular software is called. And it's actually a mobile app that you can have on your phone. So I log in to this particular app, and the first thing I see, ironically, was a fucking message from one of my daughter's teachers. And it says the following: Mrs. Rayhan, your daughter has been absent from school many, many days, and she's been tardy many other days. And you have yet to provide us with a written excuse for each instance of absence or tardiness. And I'm thinking, print this out. Because not only do I have the evidence now that she's been absent and tardy, and this has gone on for every school year, but I also now have evidence that the school is making efforts to communicate with you to get an explanation, and you're not doing it. All of this is going to strengthen my case when we get to the courtroom, right? One day I get home from work and I check the mailbox, and sure as shit, there it is. Here is the summons, or the summons from the court. Mr. Rayhan, you are required to file a written response because the petitioner has filed a motion to modify custody and to relocate with the children. I already knew this was coming. I knew that's exactly what the text message was all about. Oh, I'm ready, but I'm not about to give up all my evidence. Oh, why the fuck would I do that, right? Because she's a liar. If I inform her now of everything that I have, she's going to sit and come up with all types of lies and shit to try to figure out or try to spin it and make it look like I'm the one that's responsible for the shit. I already know this. So I respond immediately. I object to the petitioner's motion to relocate with the children and to modify custody for various reasons. She is proven to be I didn't use the word unfit parent, but I think I used the word, I think I said she is proven on many instances to not be reliable or to not be able to demonstrate proper parenting techniques. If the petitioner wants to relocate, she can relocate, and I can take possession, full-time possession of the children. She's happy. She's happy to go wherever she wants to go. Right? File that into the court. I know that once I file that into the court, now it means that the court is going to have to schedule a hearing date, and they're going to have to talk to me. They're going to have to talk to her. We're going to have to both present evidence and argue and all of this different mess in front of a judge, and the judge will take the best argument and determine who he thinks is the most fit for the children to be with. Let's do this shit because I got everything I need. While I'm waiting on the court date to come about, there was uh, I would say a coworker. It was a guy that I supervised at the job that I got fired from for being too professional. If you haven't seen that video, you definitely want to check that one out here on the channel. It's one of my earliest uploads. In that video, there was a security officer that I worked with that had gotten himself in trouble with the law. He had ended up shooting his girlfriend's boyfriend, um, and I don't want to say fatally injuring him, but the guy was in critical condition. Okay, he was fired, removed from the contract, should I say. But there was one particular security officer that kept in contact with him and was keeping up with his case. And he was telling me that the charges, how many charges that the guy was facing. I'm like, well, how did you figure all of this out? And he was telling me about a website that you can go to and you can punch in a person's name. And if you sure you know what their name is, their age, and all of that mess, as long as the joint is open or closed, if it's closed, you can see everything, the outcome and all of that. But if it's open, you can see what's pending. And he was like, you go on that joint, and that's how I saw all his charges. He's like, I can't remember it, but it's the website. Go on that joint and take a look. So when I had time, I logged into that website and I looked up the guy's name, my coworker's name, and I saw, all the charges that he was bringing up. I had the presence of mind at that exact moment to say, look up your ex-wife. I'm pretty sure there's something you can use against her there. Just look that shit up because she's been in and out of the fucking court against her oldest child's father, right? I type her name into this same database, her full name, because I know, middle name, everything. So there's not going to be any mistake. I don't have to decipher between whether this is her or whether that's her. These people have the same name though. Typed in her full name and a slew of shit came up. A slew of shit came up. And as I'm looking, I see that she's had restraining orders filed against her from the oldest child's father. I see that she has a domestic violence that was filed against her from her oldest child's father. One she tried to file against him. I've seen many times that she had been in court motions to do all of these different things against this guy. But the one that stood out to me the most was I saw that this bitch had a criminal conviction for theft. And all I'm thinking to myself, because at this point, we had already had both children. I told you my daughter was 7, about to turn 8, and my son was 4, about to turn 5. We had been apart for 5 years, right? We were married for 4 years. So all I'm doing is I'm looking like, wait a minute. Something's not adding up. She has a criminal conviction for theft, yet she's never said anything about this to me. In the 9 fucking years that I've known this woman, she's never said a single fucking word to me about a criminal conviction for theft. Who the fuck have I been sleeping next to every fucking night while we lived in the same house, while we were married? Who the fuck did I lay down and have children with? And I started to see that the perception of who she was, that I physically, the physical representation of her was slowly but surely starting to unravel, and I was starting to see who this bitch truly was. Because she was not what she was making herself out to be, what she was presenting herself to be. I printed that shit out. All of that shit. I printed all of that shit out, right? By this time, she's gone and got a lawyer because she knows how clever I am. She knows how intelligent I am. More importantly, she knows how blunt and brash I am. I do not give one fuck. Like judges, sheriffs, police officers, none of that shit intimidates me. I will talk to you like you are just another low life nigga on the street. And she understands this. When it comes to me being like disrespected, threatened, or anything like that, there is no fear. I will fucking shut your lights out. And she knows this. So she knows that when we get in this courtroom, what she's about to be dealing with. I print all this shit out. She goes and gets her lawyer. Now her lawyer is sending all of this shit to me, right? And I'm like, man, I'm not even fucking entertaining you. She is your client. You talk to her. You don't need to talk to me about anything until we make it into the motherfucking courtroom. So what do? I had the presence of mind to take every document that her attorney was sending to me, and all I would do is send the shit back. Like, don't fucking mail me. Don't mail me shit. We'll talk when we get in the motherfucking courtroom. I don't need to know what the fuck you filed, what motions, none of that shit. When we get in that courtroom, that's when you're going to see my evidence or all the shit that I have to be put into evidence or that I'm going to use in my arguments. And you already know what the fuck she got. I'm not worried about that. Like I said, my background is squeaky motherfucking clean. I worked as an armed security officer for the Department of Homeland Security. It requires numerous background checks, drug tests, random drug tests. I have to be investigated by FPS and DHS to provide me with a suitability to be in these federal government buildings. And because I worked in a leadership position of supervision, I have to be investigated by OPM to be granted a government clearance, secret or top secret. You're going to look, if you look me up, you're going to see all of this shit. That this guy has held a government clearance since he was 18 years old. At the time, I believe I was like fucking, at the time, I think I was like 42, maybe 43. I can't remember. Surely I was 43 at the time that text message came through. So I'm not worried about anything that her attorney's going to find, but she don't know of all the shit that I got. Couple months pass because the court has to give you a certain amount of time to file your response. I think they have to give you 60 days or something like that to file your response before they can begin trying to look for a date to schedule your hearing on. That 60 days had passed. And then another notice came in the mail from the court. And it let me know what the court date was. And I knew in that moment Game was on. It was time. You know what I mean? I got all the pieces. All the pieces are here. I got everything I need. Excuse me. I'm about to go in this courtroom. I'm about to shut this shit down. That day comes, or prior to that day coming, as it's getting closer, the anticipation of what I'm going to do when we get in this courtroom, it's now building up. Like I said, my children and my relationship with my children is very much on the line. Things that I envisioned doing with my children, all of this is on the line. My future as a father, the type of father that I want to be, is all on the line. Document comes into court. This is the date, and that date finally arrives. I gather all of my documents and I go to the court about half hour early because I want to make sure I can look at the scope of the land. So I show up at court, go through the metal detectors, all of that kind of shit. I go to where the courtroom is, and I just sit outside the courtroom on the bench, almost in like a meditative state, because I'm uh, trying to keep myself calm, because I know when she starts doing the stuff that I expect her to do, that I may become a whole different character. I sit there on the bench. I see judges, I see attorneys. They're all in this same hallway. They're going into different courtrooms because they got their clients with them and things like that. And I'm thinking, well, I know the hearing starts at this particular time. If she doesn't show up, then they're going to throw this shit out and it's going to be ruled in my favor anyway, right? I want to say 5 minutes or so, maybe 5 minutes or so before the hearing starts. That's when I look down the hallway. I see my ex wife coming up the steps. Then she's coming down the hallway, trying to look sweet, innocent, trying to look like a fucking victim, right? When truly the only victims in this particular case would be my children. She comes down the hallway and there's a female, older, maybe early mid 50s, possibly late 50s, that's in the area that she immediately starts talking to. I assume this must be her attorney. Bailiff comes out. He calls for the case of Mr. and Mrs. Rayhan. We walk into the courtroom. And as we get into the courtroom, the judge comes out. This is a judge that I'm somewhat, I don't want to say familiar with, but I've seen his face before because I had already filed a motion for contempt against my wife and gotten one of her testimonies purged, perjury added to the case file to prove that she is a fucking liar. I look over at my ex-wife. I look at her attorney. I look at my evidence. And I know I'm about to crush this shit in this courtroom. You guys will have to watch part 2 for the conclusion of this video.